Mega Man X7. I finally got around to playing this game. This is actually my first time playing it. For years, I've seen other people talk about the game online, and I figured I would never touch it. I mean, why would I? But then people started watching these Mega Man X videos, and I quickly figured out that I would have to play this game at some point. Couldn't just skip the worst of the series, so let's go ahead and talk about it. This game is developed by Capcom Production Studio 3, led by producers Tatsuya Minami and Tatsuya Kitabayashi. X7 dropped on the PlayStation 2 back in 2003. It was the franchise's big leap into the 6th generation hardware and its very first attempt at full 3D graphics, introducing 3D gameplay alongside the standard side-scroller style. Development team wanted to evolve the fast action of past entries, introduce a new protagonist named Axel, and try to figure out how they can do 3D right after they, rushed X6. For what it's worth, I can respect the ambition of wanting to push the series forward into new hardware, but ambition doesn't excuse bad design. You already know that this is a bad game. But is it as bad as everybody says? That's what I'm going to find out in this video. The story picks up after X6. After the Eurasia and Nightmare incidents left Earth messed up, Reploids worked to clean it up and make it habitable for humans once again. And the world started to slowly recover, but Maverick crime is on the rise. The Maverick hunters had weakened when X retired from the front lines to assume a support role and achieve more peaceful solutions. To take care of the rising crime, a group of vigilantes called Red Alert was created under the command of Red. Initially, they fought against Mavericks, but one day the group changed and began to act strange. One of their key members, Axel, noticed that he was being used and went AWOL. Red sends a big mechanoid to take him back, but he is then stopped with the help of Zero and Axel and is taken to the Maverick Hunters headquarters. Red contacts them and issues a challenge. He releases some of the Mavericks Red Alert has in custody to various locations around the globe, challenging them to see who can defeat more with Axel as the prize. But none of those Mavericks are the actual bosses of the stage. Those are all robots from Red Alert, so I guess all the grunts you fight are the Mavericks Red's talking about. At the end of the day, you still have to fight Red's people in every stage, so what's even the point of this challenge? Going further into the crime situation, X games always refer to Mavericks as Reploids, either glitching out or rebelling against humans. But in the beginning scene, we have what looks like some mafia boss trying to smuggle drugs or something. I get that this is a way to introduce Red Alert, but since they are supposed to be having some competition to beat most of Mavericks, why not have them lean more into this, tracking down known crime bosses instead of Red releasing Mavericks they caught? And Axel, he's a Reploid. You can make another one or steal his data from where he was made. But let's say that it would take a lot less time to go for Axel instead. They could have said, hey, let's have a competition at this one spot. Then they have all 8 attack together to kidnap Axel. But sometimes you gotta throw logic out because it's a game. The game uses a full 3D engine, but it hasn't aged well at all. The character models look kind of blocky and expressionless, and the environments feel flat, gray and lifeless compared to the vibrant sprite work of the Super Nintendo and early PlayStation entries. Speaking of presentation, the Maverick intro screen looks terrible. You get this choppy, awkward splash car right before the boss that looks like it was thrown together in 5 minutes using basic 3D assets. It completely kills any hype you might have had before playing the stage. Paired with the muddy textures and empty backdrops, most of the aesthetic feels the same. They tried to switch it up in some areas, but the biggest problem is that you're always looking downward in 3D stages. So even when you have a nice background, you'll see the floor more than anything else. It has the same problems as the early 3D games, but having the opportunity to see other 3D games that were done well, so I don't fully understand why this is the way it is. Just having a camera that you could freely move with the analog stick would have helped a lot. Now let me also talk about the voice acting and character writing here, because it's something else. X sounds very stiff. He mostly keeps the same speed when he talks, no matter what's going on.
That's quite enough! You need to back off and pay the dues for your crimes! So, it was you after all! How long must this madness go on?
Zero's voice actor went with a deep voice. He sounds like an old man, to be honest. It doesn't suit him at all. Sigma's voice may suit him best given all the times he's lost and came back, but I'm really not a fan of his voice either.
Are you guys remnants of the road attackers? You never give up, do you? Even when we break you down to scraps, you always come back.
That's right, folks. I'll do it again and again. I will make X and Zero mine.
And then there's Axel. Why do they keep using female voices to voice young male Reploids? You have a few younger Reploids in this cast, and every single time it's a woman doing the voice. I get that voice casting is flexible in animation. A woman's voice is closer to a kid's voice than mine, for example, but it completely loses all context when you remember that Axel is not a human. He's a Reploid. He's not going to hit puberty.
No, they don't do anything bad. Well, at least most of the time. I'm not gonna run off, so could you take this thing off? It makes me feel like a criminal.
It's really off-putting, but I have heard worse.
What if I become one of the Mavericks?
Don't ask such a silly question. I'm breaking contact now.
Wait, Zero! I'm serious!
From what I've heard, the Japanese track has its own awkward moments, but the English dub leans so hard into the melodramatic, breathy delivery that it turns what would be more serious moments into actual comedy. Let's talk about the roster structure and how these hunters play, because Capcom changed up the formula. X is ready to retire. He wants to be a politician or Martin Luther King or something. It's understandable to think that this would be X's path aside from being like Zero and locking himself away. Zero and Axel are your starting characters. To unlock X, you either have to rescue 64 Reploids, which is what I did, or defeat all 8 Mavericks. If you complete the game and start a new game from an old save file, X becomes available right after the opening stage. It's funny to me how after you can be in the last stages of the game, X will come in and be like, all right, I guess I'll have to finish this. I'm pretty sure we had things under control at this point, X, so don't worry about it. X Buster can now be fired directionally, which is currently unique to this game in the X series. Axel brings a completely different tool set to the table, kind of. He has an innate ability called Copy Shot. If you destroy certain enemies with it, they leave behind a DNA core. Picking it up lets Axel use A-Trans to transform into a copy of that enemy if they were the same size, gaining their appearance and abilities while other enemies grant special attacks or temporary stat boosts. This is what Red Alert is after. Apparently Axel doesn't even understand why he's able to copy other Reploids either, something they don't go further into this game. He also wields 3 distinct guns, the double bullet G-Launcher and the ray gun, which must be equipped in order to use their related special weapons. While both X and Axel earn the same special weapons when a boss is defeated, Axel cannot charge up his special weapons. Throughout this game, I did not use the A-Trans like really at all. I might have used it like once, the beginning stages, to see how it was, but other than that, man, didn't really care. And I can also say I really didn't use Axel much at all. Then there's Zero, the main person I used. His Z-Saber can deflect incoming enemy shots just like Axel, and he acquires other close range weapons when defeating certain bosses. Specifically the V-Hanger and D-Gave, even though I didn't use either one of those. However, Zero is restricted to using a special technique associated with whichever weapon he currently has equipped. So you can't use all of his techniques with all the different weapons, in other words. His melee combos have heavy recovery frames, meaning that you're constantly committed to swings while enemies swarm around you from all angles. But at the very least, his swings have good AoE. You know, his first swing goes behind him as well in front of him, and they have I don't know if it's a lag or what they want to call it, but it stays for a few frames, so you're still technically protected even though your sword is technically in front of you. Moving on to the controls. I am not exaggerating when I say the controls are the worst thing about this game. The controls are very stiff, and it has taken me a few tries to get Axel or Zero to jump properly at times, and it's caused me to die several times fighting some of the bosses. And then whenever you actually manage to finish a stage, you have to sit through a mission wrap-up screen. This thing is slow. You are forced to watch these tedious grade tallies tick upward at a snail's pace with no option to skip. Counting up the Reploids you saved is also a time dump. Speaking of skipping, you can't skip any cutscenes either, which is incredibly annoying. You can't speed them up either. On top of that, Mega Man X7 returns to the style of armor collecting that you saw in the first Mega Man games. Rather than being like X5 and X6, where the armor is locked until you find all of them, you can just use the armor as soon as you get it. If you use the New Game Plus features from starting a new game on a completed save file, any collected armor pieces from the previous game will be retained. For what it's worth, the common secret armors, the Ultimate Armor and Black Zero, are completely absent from this game. As far as upgrades go, they switched up the system a bit. Each individual hunter has their own unique power-ups that can be earned from rescuing Reploids. Whenever you rescue a Reploid holding power-up data, Aelia gives you the chance to equip that data to one of the characters right after completing the stage. Power-ups change their effect depending on who it is assigned to, whether it's speed, power, or special. Once a power-up is assigned to a character, it cannot be deactivated, nor can it be changed from one character to another. If you start a new game from an old save file after completing the previous game, the assigned power-up parts from your previous run will stay with the characters, and you can add on more power-ups until all their slots are maxed out. Of course, finding these isn't always straightforward because you still have to rely on rescuing Reploids hidden throughout the stages, but in practice, it's not that great. If a Reploid gets caught in enemy crossfire and killed, they are permanently dead for the remainder of that playthrough. I didn't even worry about it, man. When I saw some of those Reploids go down, I was just like, it is what it is. I just wanted to beat the game. Let's go through the roster one by one, but first I have a question about the intro stage. You start off as Axel, and it looks like you're infiltrating a factory or a lab, but apparently not. Maybe you're escaping. So with that being said, somebody is giving you instructions on how to play the game. So at first I thought it was Red, but it doesn't actually tell you who it is. So is it the game developers? Is it Axel talking to himself? You would think that if it was actually Axel talking to himself, it would just say Axel talking to himself. But who knows? Going to the actual Mavericks here. Flame Hyanard is the first Maverick I went to. Maybe not the first place I should have gone. I ended up losing a lot of Reploids to the bombs going off. And, you know, I didn't know it was just going to take them one hit before they was going to go out. So it kind of just is what it is. The 3D area took some time for me to get used to as well. After a few more deaths, I started just jumping around everything. Hyanard himself is exactly what I would expect from a typical Maverick. He's not making sense. He can't be reasoned with. And it's like, dag man, you need a hug, Jesus or something.
Hynard?
Oh, it's you that's causing my suffering! Then if I tear you to pieces, the pain will stop!
Anyway, the first 5 minutes, I was dying from laughter. I was literally tearing up, running away from this dude. The audio clipping is why I came here first, and he did not disappoint.
Burn! Burn to the ground! Burn to the burn! 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 Burn to the ground! Burn to the ground!
I know people find it frustrating, but I just think he's hilarious. But the next 25 minutes were frustrating because I did not know what to do. Instead of a standard fight, you have two clones immediately come after you with a horse moving around in the background. You have to focus on the horse because that's where the real Hyanard is. Nobody tells you that though. The most you get is Aelia telling you to shoot the horse's legs to stop it from moving. That gives you a hint at something happens with the horse, but I still don't understand what. It could end up resulting in a few different scenarios with that hint alone, none of them being that you have to climb on top of the horse. It actually would be fine if you just had a better camera angle because you would be able to see that there's a third Hyanard still on the horse. Look at when the fight starts. You see two Hyanards, but not the third one unless you look over at the top corner. Once you climb up his legs, you can finally do real damage, but you have to keep repositioning yourself because of the horse keeps moving around. I guess it's wind or something. Very annoying. Tornado Tunyon stage. You are at a radio tower, climbing the tower to get to the top where he is. I didn't necessarily hate this level. It was a 2D level for the most part until you get to Tornado Tunyon. But yeah, just overall, once you get up there to actually fight the mid-boss, it's still a 2D situation, but not so much so because it's like you have to face him and fight him. So it doesn't necessarily just be 2.5D anymore. And then like I said, once you get to Tornado Tunyon, it turns into a regular 3D cage match. Tornado Tunyon is a joke, Maverick. How did he make it into a bounty hunting group or a vigilante group like Red Alert? I thought they were a team of all super cool and tough Reploids.
My friends in Red Alert are all really skilled Reploids.
But then you got this dude. Oddly enough, when you fight him as X, he has a serious conversation with X. Unlike Zero and Axel, he actually asks for help. It's kind of sad. Thankfully, he's not too hard though. Defeating him gets you the Vault Tornado, which is pretty useful. More so with Zero than the others in my playthrough. I've definitely went ahead and used that against multiple bosses, even if it wasn't their weakness. Splash Warfly. You're back in 3D and you have to destroy 3 sub-bosses. Dragon Blaster, Fighter Aircraft, and Humanoid Bridge. I think that's what they all called. I mean, I didn't know none of these names when I was actually fighting them. The stage overall is okay. It wasn't too hard to get to the boss, but then when I actually got to him, that was when things got difficult. He likes to perform hit and run maneuvers. He'll attack and then retreat in the water and then jump back again on the platform, try to catch you by surprise. Now he's weak to Vault Tornado. I don't even think I had Vault Tornado at the time, so yeah, trying to beat him as one of the earlier bosses, with this being my first time playing the game, definitely did not go well. So yeah, this was another place I got stuck for a while, but I was able to beat him. Wind Crow Ring. The stage start off with Maverick Hunters jumping along several aircrafts until they reach a big ship. I thought jumping from plane to plane actually was kind of cool. Wind Crow Ring, another boss that, you know, gave me some difficulty, didn't have his weakness, and yeah, so I was stuck. The biggest thing about this, I think, is because Zero, just from the get-go, he was hitting harder than Axel was. So I was like, well, I might as well go ahead and give it a shot with Zero since he hits harder than Axel. Fight Anteater. Anteater's arena is a long translucent tube. He's able to move to the other side of the tube, but you can't go to the other side. You're kind of stuck where you are. The overhead camera can also make it kind of hard to dodge things. I mean, this is just another time where the camera just does not help you. But Anteater himself was fairly easy, and I didn't have much difficulty beating him, thankfully. Soldier Stone Kong. Something about a gorilla Reploid just doesn't do it for me. But regardless, his stage is in an ancient temple. Relatively easy to get around, even though I still died a couple of times. The stage is filled with rolling boulder traps and some more heavy-duty mechanoids. Stone Kong himself, he hits pretty hard, but overall this took way more time for me than the other ones. For example, every time he drop the 2 boulders that explode, and then he runs around the stage a little bit, but he always would go get back on the, let's just call it a tree or whatever you want to call it. He went on that more than enough times to drag this fight out, which was definitely a pain. Vanishing Gungaroo stage is a fully 3D stage from start to finish and makes heavy use of the ride armor for both hunters and the enemies. They have 2 different models of ride armor in this game, but I don't recall seeing ride armor anywhere else but in this particular stage. I mean, the ride armor is stiff like everything else, so it's alright for like 5 minutes, and then after a while you want to kind of just go back to what you was doing before. But then you get to fighting Gungaroo, and this dude is in a ride armor of his own. From what I've seen online, apparently you can do something to have your ride armor while you fight him. So it can be a ride armor fight, which is actually different from any other X game. You know, like in X1, vials in ride armor. And then you got X4 where you can get to, Dragoon and fight him in ride armor. But this is the first situation in X games where you have ride armor, the Maverick has on ride armor, so y'all can just fight each other. So the concept is cool. The dude is actually pretty easy in his ride armor though. Like, if anything, it might slow you down. Once you get him out of that, he likes to jump around, and he definitely was juking me a couple of times here and there with his speed until, he has a certain rhythm. Like, he'll bounce twice, either left or right. But at first, it was taking me some time to get him, but I was able to actually start targeting him and actually hitting him once I got his rhythm down. Ride Borski, a vehicle stage where you ride a bike through a highway city. You grab all the bombs before the timer hits 0. This is hands down the fastest stage to get through, and I appreciate that. You have a cage match with him afterwards, and it's just okay. You have a couple of Reploids that be throwing the bombs, but if you keep your distance from the dude, you'll keep the distance from the Reploids, you'll be fine. The actual stage itself, it's not good. The highway, the ride armor, I don't know, man. They might have to give that up. One thing I could give the developer team is that they succeeded in making most of the stages feel different, even if the stages aren't great. After defeating the boss, you get a simple cutscene. First, it starts off with the Maverick Hunters, and then afterwards, it leans over into Sigma and Red. One of these cutscenes is that Sigma tells Red he can give him more power, and how Sigma started to control the group slowly over time. For me, it made me think that this was happening in real time, but some of the story beats are supposed to happen before Axel leaves the group. For example, the cutscene I was talking about with Sigma giving the group more power. This power is something that puts Hyenard in pain, and that's why he's like that in his stage. And others talk about the master or professor, all that crap. However, in the cutscenes in the game, Sigma doesn't meet Red until some of them have already been defeated. So a simple caption saying before the fight or 2 weeks beforehand would have really helped out here, especially since the cutscenes beforehand with Zero and Axel are in real time. Or you could have had this be the intro instead of the one with the Mafia boss. It would have made a lot more sense. When you finally make it to the end game, you hit Red Alert's fortress. Sigma has fully taken over. The first stage, you are being chased by a big vehicle. It's like Crash Bandicoot, but worse because the camera is too close. You should have more room to see what's coming in front of you, and I hate it. Then you fight Red. He is an okay boss. He puts up somewhat of a challenge. The big reason that this can take a while though is traversing the platforms. If you attack him, he'll counter you, but at the same time, if you don't, you could be literally right beside him and he won't try to touch you. I use X to shoot charge shots and then dodge, but I was also prone to falling in the water. After that, you have the boss rush. I like the background here and how the teleporters are all beside a coffin, indicating that they all have been defeated. I still don't know everybody's weakness, and thankfully I didn't need most of them. Sigma was a hard fight for me. As with most bosses, it took a while to figure out the best way to take him out. I like how you could technically shoot him while he's still in the background in his first form. His second form is some larger than life body. You seem to be in outer space while you fight him. After beating Sigma's second form, he goes back to his normal size, ready to fight again. Axel shows up disguised as Red and tricks Sigma, getting close enough to him for Sigma to drop his guard. Then Axel takes him out. Later, Axel attempts to officially join the Maverick Hunters and X starts pouting. Somebody has to do the job, X. As much as X gives Axel gripe about wanting to be a Maverick Hunter, he doesn't say a word to Zero about, hey, maybe you should retire. I guess he still understands that Maverick Hunters are needed. Why are you even still with the Maverick Hunters? Go be a scientist. Go figure out an update for the Reploids so they don't go Maverick anymore. From a lore perspective, the dude is wasting his time. We have not once seen or heard about a Maverick changing their ways. Zero has a dream about X pointing his buster at him. That doesn't go anywhere, thankfully. There's been enough of Zero fighting X in the series. Overall, the story is okay. It's not on a world-ending scale like X5, but it's still a worldwide threat like X6. It had a lot of room for improvement, whether you wanted to switch it up a little bit here and there or just give more detail to the lore here. All in all, X needs to go to therapy Zero needs some cough drops, and Axel needs a new voice actor. For what it's worth, the soundtrack is the best thing about the game. The composer Naoto Tanaka went with a high energy feel while others feel more techno. Either way, I like it. I was mainly listening to something different when I was actually playing the game, so I had to go back to see if something was above the others, and few of them were. Lazy Mind might be my favorite. The intro stage has high energy, and Palace Road stage is another that stands out for me. Others like Burning Water and Red's boss theme are good as well. They fit the stages and they are worth listening. When Mega Man X7 released, it debuted on the Japanese sales charts as the third best-selling video game. By its second week on sale, the game had sold over 71,000 copies in the region, and by its third week, it hit over 89,000 copies, totaling over 100,000 copies by the end of 2003. It was a decent initial start, and then it got a budget re-release alongside the PlayStation versions with the other 6 games, but the sales numbers didn't match the critical reception, which leaned more to mixed to negative reviews across the board. By a large amount, everybody pretty much feels the same way about this game. The 2D to 3D gameplay was well intended but purely executed. IGN found the characters unbalanced, noting that X and Axel felt more useful than Zero did. In particular, critics commented that the camera controls do not translate from 2D to 3D well. What a surprise. While the ROM hacking community has done some great things for the 2D entries of the franchise, working on a full 3D game like X7 is very different. Since most people don't even like the game, there's not really any fan games out here for X7. But you do have X7 tweaks. It does a good job at quality of life tweaks like fast forwarding cutscenes and making Zero's saber combo faster. I haven't played it myself, but it does look like it will make the game better. If you hate this game, I don't know if this will make you change your mind on it though. After playing X7 for a while, I just wanted to get this over with. Between the stiff controls, the story, the slowness of everything, it's easily the low point of the franchise. Is it one of the worst games ever? Of course not. I leave that for buggy and unfinished games. But it's definitely the worst in the series. There's no reason for people to play this game in my opinion. At least there's some things to laugh at though. Anyway, that's my take on Mega Man X7. What do you think about the game? Did you play it or did you end up skipping it? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you want to see more video game retrospectives. I got X8 coming next, and that should be coming a lot quicker than X7 did. But until then, check out my Mega Man X playlist or check out my retrospective on Grand Stream Saga, a game that nobody talks about for a reason. I'll see you all in the next video.
Later!